Hi there, I'm Olav Basoski. Welcome to this new MacProVideo.com course, exploring the instruments in Ableton Live 9 Suite. And I say Suite specifically because we're going to look at the instruments that come with the Suite version of Ableton Live 9. And of course you can buy these instruments separately from the Ableton web shop, but you get a much better deal if you buy them all at once in the Suite bundle. We're not going to go really deep into the instruments, but we're going to cover most of the basics, so you'll be on your way in no time. And the reason for that is that I've done a sound design course for MacProVideo.com, which covers most of the instruments in Live already. So if you want to go really deep into the instruments, I recommend you take a look at that. Okay. In this course, though, we're going to look at almost all of them, and let's start right away. I'm going to open up my browser using Option Command B, and there they are, the instruments in Ableton Live 9 Suite. It's quite a list, and actually it wouldn't surprise me if this would fill almost all of your sound needs. And they've put a lot of thought in naming these instruments. Analog is an analog synth. Collision is about stuff hitting other stuff. The drum rack is, well, speaks for itself, it's about drum sounds. Electric is about electric pianos. External instruments is about controlling instruments in the outside world, like hardware MIDI synths, or you use it, for example, to give extra outputs to multi-timbral plugin synths, samplers, and whatnot. Impulse is the older beatbox type of plugin in Ableton Live. It's got a couple nice features of its own. The instrument rack, which allows us to make layers of different synths. Operator, which is an FM synth. Sampler, I already covered extensively in a different course. Simpler, we will take a look at. It's the little brother of sampler. And tension, which is all about string type sounds. Strings, pianos, guitars, etc. But let's start with the top one, analog. I'll just double click it to insert it into my track. And for somebody who's not familiar with synthesis, this may look a bit intimidating. But to be honest, it's really not that hard to understand. It's quite easy to grasp. So let's get started. All the way to the left here is the oscillator. An oscillator is a sound generator. This is what makes sound. There's one here and another one here. And to be able to hear them, we need to turn them on. I'll turn this one off for now. In the middle is an extra one, and it's called noise because it only produces white noise, which can actually work really well in different types of sounds. But let's focus on the oscillator. Oscillator 1. Here's the level control, and the field below that allows you to decide how much of the oscillator you want to send to the filter 1 or 2. So I could actually send oscillator 1 to the filter of oscillator 2, which is really smart. Here's the shape of the oscillator. It's now a sawtooth wave. You can choose from different types of waves. There's a sine wave. Square wave. Oh, and by the way, another noise oscillator. But let's focus on the sawtooth. Octave to tune my oscillator in steps of 12 semitones. And semitones are right beside that. Detuning for the fine tuning of the oscillator. Right next to that is the filter section. I need to turn the filter on for it to work. And the drop-down menu gives us a lot of filter options to choose from, the frequency of the filter, and resonance gives us a peak in the frequency we choose over here. The filtering gets even more flexible because we can now send what we've just done in filter number 1 to filter number 2 again, percentage of that, right? This filter over here. The amplifier deals with anything to do with volume. In the display in the middle, we get an envelope, which is the same, by the way, for the filters. They all get their own envelope in the display. The amplifier also has a panning control, so I can send my oscillator to anywhere left or right in the stereo field. The LFO field. I need to turn the LFO on, and I get to choose the rate in either frequency, as you can see over there, or note values, which can be really handy. So if, for instance, I go to the amplifier, click the tab, and I'll tell it to listen to the LFO1 over here, and I'll turn that all the way up. I'm going to go to the envelope to make sure we have a sustaining sound. I can now grab the rate and play with that, and you'll see the display updating too. And you get to choose from different waveforms for the LFO. There's a triangle LFO wave, right? Rectangular. If I want to choose note values, I can do that too, to sync it to my project. So that's the LFO. Here is the global section with the global output level vibrato, which is handy because you don't need to give up one of your LFOs for that. Because you may want to use your LFO on the amplifier. Unison is used to fatten up your sound. It gives you a doubled signal, and you can detune these waves from one another. And that is what gives you that big, fat, juicy synthesizer sound. Below that is glide, and glide allows you to glide from note to note. And there's two ways to do that. One is portamento, but that is only going to work if you put the number of voices to mono. Right now I have 8 voices, so I can play chords. If I put the voices to mono, I can no longer play chords, of course. But now I can use the glide. If I turn on legato, the glide will only work if more than one note is playing at the same time. So if I play my notes detached, there's no glide. That makes sense? So I need to hold more than one note for the glide to work in legato. And either one is useful in different situations, of course. So that is essentially the oscillator and its controls. And to be honest, that is really all you need to know about the oscillator, because down here, there is exactly the same. It is an exact copy of what we have up there. Right? An oscillator with a filter and an amplifier and its own display in the middle. And you know, it's really up to you how you combine these all, how you put them together to make up your own sounds. So let's go to the next video and look into that a little more.